There is no way the Edmonton Oilers are thinking of doing this to try to improve their roster heading into the regular season on the blue line. All that and more today on Oilers Digest. But before we get all the news, all the rumors, all the breakdowns, make sure to subscribe here to the channel, as 87% of you watching these videos have not yet subscribed. The countdown is on to the start of preseason, also the start of the regular season, and with training camp full and underway, it's only going to go up from here. But without further ado, blue line rumblings. Yes, there was a name mentioned that could potentially join the Edmonton Oilers via trade with the Philadelphia Flyers, and that is one Mr. Rasmus Ristolainen. During a segment on Oilers Now, Bob Stauffer brought up Philadelphia Flyers defender Rasmus Ristolainen as a potential trade target, while well-respected pundit Frank Cervalli of Daily Faceoff made sure to voice his displeasure, and he disagreed with that idea. Stauffer's pick checks all the boxes for what the Oilers are looking for, which is a right-shot defender with experience who is under contract long-term. While some fans have questioned his defensive game, Ristolainen could add some depth at place in a sheltered role alongside Brett Kulak and provide value as more of a mentor for Ty Emberson than someone who takes the ice time away. And now, as someone who normally agrees with Bob Stauffer, I have to disagree with him wholeheartedly. Ever since the Oilers lost Vincent Desharnais to the Vancouver Canucks in free agency, they've been looking for this big rugged defender who isn't all there on the offensive side of the game, but the defensive side of the game, he is very well-rounded. Ristolainen, of course, if you place him in a sheltered role, he's suitable. He wouldn't be my first pick at all, but ever since losing Desharnais, the Oilers and the fans have been looking for someone to replace him, and that's not what you really need at all. I think the Oilers need someone who's a little more well-rounded, a two-way game, someone who's still available, a guy like Justin Schultz or Kevin Shattenkirk. Both are not under contract at this time, but with Ristolainen, he is a black hole on defense there. As you can see there, stats-wise, not a whole lot. Sure, he can hit. He's very physical, but that's really all Ristolainen can do. And Bob Stauffer hinted at a retained Ristolainen, and right now he makes a little over $5 million. But even if you retain half of that, that is a little more than $2.5 million, and even that is overpaid for a third pairing defenseman who, again, can't do much except be physical in the corners. Sure, he eats a lot of ice time against top competition, but everything else he doesn't seem to be able to do well. And you can see the J Fresh card. Sure, 49 percentile defense, so average, but again, it's third pairing, sheltered minutes. John Tortorella knows what he has with Ristolainen, doesn't force a circle into a square, vice versa. He knows what he has with Ristolainen, and he's not expecting anything big out of him. And with the Oilers, that would just be going backwards. Especially even if you move Ristolainen up to the second pairing with a guy like Darnell Nurse and move Emberson down with Kulak, again, that would just be a pairing far worse than Nurse and Cody Ceci the past couple seasons. And just looking at the stats here, with all of the defensive partners Ristolainen has been, or a good majority of them, and he's played top minutes, of course, 44 minutes there with Justin Braun. There's been a lot more, defensive partners Ristolainen has played with, but again, those were limited minutes, and the numbers wouldn't necessarily match the rest of these there. But of course, Travis Sanheim has been his most common partner. Nick Seeler, Ivan Provorov, Igor Zamula, and then a rookie like Cam York and the Mark Stahl and Justin Braun. It seems to be, again, the Cody Ceci effect. Whoever he is on a pairing with, he seems to drag that pairing down tremendously. And with the Oilers, again, it would just be moving. It would be moving back. Of course, Ristolainen, a rookie Ristolainen, he had all the expectations in the world in Buffalo, and it just seemed to be cratering as the years go on. And even a retained Ristolainen, again, he'd be maybe my sixth pick, but again, a guy like Justin Schultz or Kevin Shattenkirk, I would ring their phone more than I would ring up Phillies to see what the price is for Rasmus Ristolainen. Next up here, training camp continues. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers have gathered for their training camp as they prepare for the start of the preseason on Sunday. And before we get into that, Jason Gregor here, there's been another PTO signing here made by Stan Bowman. Jasper Weatherby, the fourth-round pick of San Jose in 2018. That pick originally belonged to the Edmonton Oilers. He has 50 NHL games played, but he has spent the past 3 seasons in the AHL. And he's also at the Oilers training camp, listed here at 6'6", 220 pounds. I mean, many Oiler fans are already salivating at that stat. Weatherby is a center known mostly for playing in defensive roles, with prospect Carl Berglund on the shelf with an injury suffered during the rookie Penticton tournament against the Winnipeg Jets. The Oilers might be taking a look at Jasper Weatherby as a depth option for the Bakersfield Condors. And I mean, Bakersfield, the more depth, the better for that team, as you know, the AHL is sort of a safe haven for those depth players, but at the same time, it's also a little bit of a development league. Of course, the Oilers trying to develop their top prospects in Bakersfield, letting them marinate before making the big roster. And lastly here, Edmonton has a very interesting competition at training camp for the team's fourth line center position. Guys like Derek Ryan, James Hamblin, Lane Peterson, who spent all of last season in Bakersfield, and Noah Phillip, who returned from his brief hiatus there. He was a former University of Alberta Golden Bear. He's now at the Oilers training camp. They are all options for the role, and Weatherby adds yet another name to the conversation. Just looking here at his stats here, again, nothing too super about him. Of course, played with San Jose, but of course bounced around the AHL with San Jose, Grand Rapids, in Milwaukee. And Frank Saravalli, adding on to this one, on Oilers Now last night with Bob Stauffer, he said Kane has changed things for the Oilers if he's put on LTIR. If out for the entire year, the Oilers could have around $9 million to spend at the deadline. He believes Ty Emberson will break out this year. And Bob Stauffer, again, hinting at Rasmus Ristolainen and Frank Saravalli, they sort of butted heads about that one. And a trade with Calgary involving Rasmus Andersson is unlikely. I mean, that's the Rasmus I would prefer anyways, but Calgary pretty much unlikely to trade with Edmonton, not only for the divisional perspective, but they probably don't want to make their rival a lot better than they already are. Which, again, I'd like Rasmus Andersson, but if Calgary, their price is far too high. Of course, the Oilers did make a push for Chris Tanev at the trade deadline last year, and Dallas pretty much outbid them for that right. And again, a notable injury or two could force Stan Bowman to place Evander Kane on LTIR, something he's aiming to avoid doing. Bowman said the goal is to accrue cap space, which would allow him to make a more significant addition or additions to the roster before the trade deadline, or even at the trade deadline. Puckpedia projects the Oilers to have just over $945,000 in space, even with Evander Kane activated. There's no need to place him on IR because the Oilers aren't expected to be at the 23-player limit. And from Preston Hodgkinson here, at the first on-ice day of training camp, you can see the line combos, some familiar and some that are interesting, and then we'll get into the D pairings there in just a second, but I mean the top six, as expected: Nugent-Hopkins, McDavid, Hyman, Skinner, Draisaitl, and Arvidsson, and then this is where it starts to get a little interesting, of course, with the losses of Dylan Holloway and Warren Foegele. The bottom six seems to be a little slower than you'd like to be. Of course, Matisse Janmark, Adam Henrique, and Connor Brown, who had tremendous chemistry throughout the playoffs even against Florida there, especially with Janmark and Brown on that record-setting power play, and then Vasily Podkolzin, Derek Ryan, and Corey Perry. So again, a very old, very slow bottom six, but I mean, it's the veteran presence that really matters here in everything if you want to find some sort of silver lining. And then lastly here, there's actually a correction. It was Raphael Lavoie on the left side and Matthew Savoy on the right side, and Lane Peterson down the middle. Now in the defensive pairings, of course, what's come to be expected: Matisse Ekholm and Evan Bouchard on that first pairing. And then the world's worst kept secret, Darnell Nurse with Ty Emberson. And then Brett Kulak with Josh Brown, who I don't know why he even has a spot on the Oilers roster. I mean, all of his underlying numbers seem to be pointing downwards. And then lastly here, Troy Stetcher and Travis Dermott, who came to the Oilers on a PTO. You see there Darnell Nurse, of course. I mentioned in a previous video that he does have an injury, but he participated in every drill during the first on-ice session despite suffering from an injury. The departures of CC and Desharnais mean Nurse will have a new defensive partner for this upcoming season. And, of course, Ty Emberson, trade pickup, he seems to be getting the first opportunity to play with the veteran defender, being paired with Darnell Nurse this morning. Signs are pointing up here for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm excited to see what Ty Emberson can bring with Darnell Nurse. Of course, Darnell Nurse not playing in any preseason games for the first bit. They sort of want to work him in throughout the duration of training camp into the end of the preseason, and hopefully he is ready by the start of the regular season. And you don't really want to see them rush him too quickly to the Oilers, of course, last year with Mattias Ekholm. Missed the start of the season, brought back in, had to work his way back in. And the Oilers' slow start certainly didn't help that at all. That's it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about a potential Rasmus Ristolainen pickup and any other things regarding the Oilers' lineup decisions. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I'm Matt.